It's a journey of discovery being an artist, and what you're doing all the time is trying to create something that is personally meaningful to you, and at the same time trying to create something that other people are going to connect with emotionally. My name is Arthur Seabrig, I'm 42 years old, and in 2021 I created the mural for Queen Street in Morley called Extra Time. My artwork is about history and culture and how dramatically our values have changed in just a few generations. The past, I feel, is a bit like a foreign country, and that interests me. I was inspired by my relationship with my grandfather, who I was very close to, and in a very quiet way he always showed that he believed in me, and he was my best friend. And when he died, it felt a little bit like a part of me had died inside as well, and I felt like I was devastated, but I felt like I wanted to use artwork as a bit of a therapy for myself, really. And what was weird is that straight after my granddad died, I found out that I was going to be a dad myself, and I found that quite difficult to deal with, the way that there was simultaneous joy and grief all at once. So I think I needed my artwork then. 3 years after my granddad died, when my son was just a toddler, there was this spooky thing that happened. I was organising my spare room and there were books and photograph albums all over the floor, and my son was looking through the photographs, and I remember he picked up a picture of my granddad, and pointing at it he said, "Grandad." And I said, "Yeah, that's your great granddad." "And how did you know that?" I asked him. He said, "Me see him before." And I remember thinking, well, he might have seen a photograph before. And I said, "What do you mean you seen him before?" And he said, "Me see him in my house." And he said he comes upstairs, he sneaks round mummy, sneaks round daddy, and plays trains with me. Really freaked out by that. He's never mentioned it since, or anything like that again. But I decided then that I was going to produce a piece of artwork based on this, and I produced quite a ghostly image on a mirror, so it glowed. And I felt at that point that I'd done everything I needed to do with this subject, and I could move on, and I didn't have to keep producing artwork about my granddad and my son anymore. Well, until the mural came along in Morley, and that made me think that maybe this idea still deserved some extra time. And my granddad was in Morley and my son was in Morley. I was from Morley, and so it felt like an appropriate theme. And I thought maybe I could illustrate the relationship between my granddad and my son, who had been separated by death but connected through me. All art is a portrait of the artist to some extent, and I wanted to describe that unease that I feel living in this dramatically changing world, in the sunset of our inherited traditions, where it feels like our identity is fragmenting, and where I feel conscious that we're the last generation that can personally remember the wartime generation. And I wonder if we should feel an obligation to pass on their traditions and their culture and their story. I don't just mean clogs and flat caps and terraced houses and mills and mines. I'm not just talking about that. I mean our relationship with the past and our present insecurities with our identity. How important is it that we tell our children about what the poppy symbolises? The old folks that I knew cloaked themselves in this in their sacrifice, and we were constantly told that it was for us. And how do we live up to that story? Queen Elizabeth, who's only just recently died, embodied all these old-fashioned, unfashionable values of humility, self-sacrifice and duty. And it turned out that in 2021 her reign was well into extra time, and maybe the virtues that she represented died with her. Many people are challenging our history, and I think that's with good cause. And my work doesn't make statements. It's not coming down on one side or the other. I think it's important to ask questions, and I think that's what art is for. What we do know is that our children have got the world in their hands, and if they don't have long established benchmarks to hold them and to guide them, then they're just going to fall off into an abyss and be eaten up by any dangerous new idea that happens to come along. So you know, the question is, can we go forward marching on together, wearing the same colours of our ancestors, or do we just ignore that yellow card warning that they offer us and repeat their failures? When the mural went up, somebody said, when they saw it, she said, I wish I had extra time with my nana. And I thought, that's really what the mural is about. Because whatever we choose to pass on from one generation to the next, what we must pass on is love. Is that all right?